You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune into The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99, WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey, sports fans, The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/at Braves Country.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
good night,
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves and bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Winter is the perfect time to start planning for your healthy, pest-free spring lawn with True Green, America's #1 lawn care company. True Green's science-based approach and local expertise will help give your lawn the year-round care it needs to be thick and weed-free. Go to truegreen.com. Just call 866-946-5956 or go to truegreen.com today and get a lawn to be proud of.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Tiger Woods has committed to next week's Genesis Invitational, he announced on Friday. Quote, "I'm ready to play an actual PGA Tour event next week." Woods Foundation serves as the Genesis Invitational organizer. He was in the LA area for the event February 2021 when he suffered a major leg injury in a car crash. He played only 3 full events, all majors, in 2022, finishing in 47th at the Masters before withdrawing from the PGA Championship after the 3rd round and missing the cut at the Open. The Dominican Republic punched their ticket to the Caribbean Series Championship game. They downed Mexico 8-3. On the other side, Venezuela took out Colombia 7-5. The two will face off tonight at 6:30 Eastern, while Colombia and Mexico are in the consolation game. The WBC Classic begins in just 3 weeks. The association takes center stage Friday night with a doubleheader on ESPN. Charlotte is at Boston at 7:30, and the Cavs are at the Pelicans. Great matchup of 2 upstart teams in the NBA this year. That game is at 10 p.m. Other games around the league: Timberwolves at the Grizzlies, Suns at the Pacers, Knicks are at the 76ers, the Jazz travel to Toronto. Late night has Mavs at Kings and Bucks at Clippers. In college basketball, top 20 action as Xavier is at Butler. Xavier 11-2 on the year, trying to avoid upset from the Bulldogs, who are 3-10 overall. And at 6 Eastern on ESPN2, Kent State is at Buffalo. On the plus, you've got Marist at St. Peter's and Fairfield at Ryder at 7. Also on the plus at 7 o'clock, Quinnipiac at Niagara, Siena at Mount St. Mary's, and Iona at Canisius. 8 Eastern on ESPN2, St. Louis at Dayton. Should be a good one in the A10. While at 9 o'clock Eastern, New Mexico, having a good year out in the Mountain West, will try to take advantage of a down year by the Air Force Falcons. In your late tilt at 11 o'clock, it's Fresno State at Nevada. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Armor Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pump. Really? This is what you're doing? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
Radio station. The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
Listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on youtube.com/at Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon, and I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. Joey's Bulls lost to the Nets, and they don't have anybody on that squad. What the hell, Joey?
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Good afternoon. Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? It's Super Bowl Friday. It's a feel-good Friday. It's Super Bowl Eve. We're ready to roll here. You know, Joey and I joke around about this, but I've told him time and time again, quit betting on the NBA. You can't win. You cannot. It's a sucker's bet. The NBA is an absolute sucker's bet. Last night, the Bulls go and take on the Nets, and they lose. This is a Nets team that hasn't gotten the majority of their players in via trade. They're all still in transit. The NBA is a sucker's bet. I've been doing this for way too long, and I'm telling you right now, the way you make your cash, if you want to bet basketball, stick with college. If you want to bet outside of that, be very cautious when you bet the NFL. You can make a little more money betting college football. In Major League Baseball, you can make some money. So the way I rank it, it's baseball, probably college basketball, and then after that, it's college football and the NFL. It is an absolute waste of time and money to bet the NBA. You never know who's going to play. Speaking of that, what's trending now, Luka Doncic is out versus the Kings tonight. This is the constant thing in the NBA. If you're ever going to bet the NBA, I suggest money lines and in the playoffs. I do not suggest anything prior to the playoffs because you don't know who's going to play, how hard they're going to play. If they're going to load manage and not play at all, or they're going to load manage and they are going to play, but they're just not going to play very hard. It's a sucker's bet, and that is what it is. If you continue to bet it, you're a sucker. And I know very, very few people who have ever had success with NBA betting long term. Yeah, you can get lucky here and there. You can get on a hot streak. is you get a better chance of making money off of horse betting, horse races. And I'm talking about betting horses from around the globe that you're not very familiar with the horses on, because at least there's things that you can read up on. It's never interested me, but I've listened to a lot of folks that have laid out how you can make money in horse racing. I've never even been able to even. The only thing I ever bet on was like the Kentucky Derby, and I'll bet like a couple of bucks on a long shot and just have fun for that 2 minutes. But other than that, I'm telling you right now, and I'm not even going to go to where everyone wants to go, where they say, oh, the NBA is rigged. It's not rigged, but you're playing in a rigged deck, because what you've got going on is you've got guys who are trying to prolong their career. This isn't 25, 30 years ago where guys were out there for their legacy. They're out there to play as long as they can, stay as healthy as they can. And until something changes in the NBA where it becomes more important for the fan, I think you waste your time watching the NBA during the regular season, but you definitely waste your money betting the NBA. Now, if you want to go down that road, I'll tell you right now, I've known folks that have made a lot more money on betting in the NHL. Now, I don't know it well enough when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's usually when I'll dabble in a little bit, because it's a little easier to hedge your bets. But I always lean on folks that know a lot more than I do when it comes to hockey. But the NBA is an absolute farce. Okay, we are getting ready to roll here and got a bunch of stuff to get into and a little time to. I don't know if you paid attention to it last night, but women's college softball came back. And that was a cool thing. I sat down and watched the doubleheader of the Lady Knowles. They won both of them. Well, that's actually a lie. I caught the tail end of the first game, and then I watched the second game. And they won the doubleheader. The second game against Lipscomb was a really good game. But you've got that going on, and then you got men's college baseball starting up for most teams tonight. Now, most teams right now, we're looking at basically they're just getting their feet wet. So I'll lay out for you what the games were today. And it's kind of funny because most of the scores have not been updated, because that's how little coverage that men's college baseball get. But we're going to try to give it more of a limelight here, especially with so many teams in the South that are very good. If you're trying to do something with your college baseball career, you normally come south. And games of interest that were going on today. Now, I do not see it updated, so I'll see if I can get a scoreboard update. But Georgia was playing Jacksonville State. It just got going, and that game is being played in Athens. You got a bunch of games all around the SEC and ACC, trying to find where Georgia Tech is right now. I want to say they played this. No, they play at 4:00, and that is not on major cable either, but it is in Atlanta. They're playing Miami of Ohio. Most teams are playing a 2 to 3 game series depending this weekend. 5:00, you got Florida State at home against James Madison, and you'll notice there's very, very few teams that are playing big boys, so to speak. These are usually, it's almost like opening weekend for college football. Now, there are some invitationals and whatnot going on. There's a cool Desert Invitational where 6:00 tonight you get Michigan versus Michigan State. Michigan has had some good teams over the years. Michigan State, not so much, but that should be a fun little showdown there. Any other? See, Florida plays Charleston Southern. That game is on SEC Network Plus tonight, so it will not be on a major TV. It will also be on the Plus. Same thing for Miami. They're ranked number 22 in the country. Florida's ranked number 7, by the way. Miami is at home against Penn State. I do not see Florida State being ranked. Let me see where Georgia is. I believe I saw, they're not ranked in this poll, but they were ranked in another poll. And Georgia Tech, the same. They are not ranked in the ESPN poll. But we'll try to keep you abreast of what's going on. Number one in the country right now is LSU. No surprise there. And they play Western Michigan tonight. The Tennessee Volunteers, for you Tennessee fans out there, number 2 in the country. They're at the MLB Desert Invitational. I believe that's on MLB Network now. I unfortunately have YouTube TV, and they just recently cut MLB Network. So I'm going to see if I can find it elsewhere. I think you can possibly get it on the MLB.TV app. And outside of that, you've got a number 17 UCLA is in action tonight against Omaha. Number 3 Stanford's at Cal State Fullerton. 2 very good baseball programs. And so that kind of gives you an idea of what's going on in major college baseball across the board. And of course, there will be games tomorrow. And typically you can catch most of these games either on the Plus or on your local cable networks, wherever you're at. I can't imagine that you're going to have two. Well, there's actually a decent, there's about a dozen or so games on Sunday as well. I thought they might cut it short because of Super Bowl Sunday, but it looks like most of them are playing. Now here's a strange one. The MLB Desert Invitational is playing some games during the Super Bowl. They've had a doubleheader during the Super Bowl. I don't know how wise that is, but outside of that, should be some good college baseball action, and you'll see them really start to rev up in a few weeks. And of course, the South is very dominant in women's college softball as well. So we'll try to keep you abreast of what's going on with all of that. And the real quick, as far as what's going on in the South, in the softball world, Georgia is ranked number 13 in the country. They trail Boise State at home today. It's 4-1 in the third. See if we got any other games of note around the South and Southeast. Number 4, Florida State will host Purdue tonight. And let's see what else we have here as far as ranked teams or teams in the Southeastern Conference. Looks like Auburn is up on St. John's in the 5th, and you got Kentucky and Louisville. Good little rivalry there. Wildcats lead the Cardinals 5-0 in the 5th, and that's about it. That's as far as going on right now. But you got a lot of games, and men's college baseball, women's college softball, it's back in action. Now, obviously, there's so many things going on in the major sports. We can never have a chance to really dive in to each individual sport, but we will try to keep you abreast of what's going on, because I feel like, especially in the Southeast, obviously college football is king, but outside of that, you get the interest in men's college baseball, in men's college basketball, and obviously we've got the tournaments coming up for that. Then outside of that, I feel like the main interest, and it really depends on your school, which one are they good at, right? But the main interest ends up being baseball and women's softball. And then there at the very bottom ends up being women's basketball. Now, I follow it a little more than most because I lived in an area. At one point in my life, I was living in Middle Tennessee, and I was surrounded by Lady Vol fans. They kind of got me to follow that program, but they're not as dominant as they once were. And when you're not living in the area, it's kind of hard to get into, because I don't know anyone down south here that really follows women's college hoops. But I would say if you probably live in South Carolina, there's probably a good chance that there's a big interest there. It really comes down to the problem with women's college hoops is they've closed the gap a little bit, but essentially every year it's like 4, maybe 5 teams have a real chance of winning the tournament. And that's just no way to play a sport. It makes it really dull. Softball has closed the gap quite a bit. And I think that's why there's so much of an interest now. Men's college baseball is always wide open when the playoffs begin. And, of course, we all know March Madness Final Four. Forget about it. All right, let's go ahead and take a really quick break. When we come back, Bobby's going to join us, and we are going to dive in to the Super Bowl. We're also going to find out what the heck is going on with these Cardinals. They don't even have a freaking – Arizona's hosting the Super Bowl, and they don't even have a head coach. We'll be back in a flash here on WQEE 99.1 FM, Braves Country HD, wherever you stream.
Someone asked me one time, you ever bet in the WNBA? I'm like, no. Nobody cares about the WNBA. They don't, sorry. Perfect example, Brittany Griner, WNBA superstar, currently in a Russian prison. If that were LeBron James, we would have sent SEAL Team 6, Jason Bourne, and 3 Girl Scouts for an extraction.
It's time to live, laugh, and create memories again with MSC Cruises. Join us on some of the world's most modern and innovative ships. Discover again at our new private island, Ocean Key MSC Marine Reserve, named Best New Cruise Destination. Cruise the Caribbean and Bahamas from Miami or Port Canaveral. Book now with free balcony upgrades and flexible booking changes. Call your travel advisor or visit MSCCruises.com. Restrictions apply. MSC Cruises, a world of discovery.
Wendy's only makes one kind of breakfast, your new favorite one. How do we do it? With fresh cracked eggs, oven-baked bacon, and flaky croissants. You know, the things your old breakfast wasn't doing. So toss that old news and its soggy eggs somewhere useful. And get to Wendy's. A sausage, egg, and Swiss croissant, bacon, egg, and Swiss croissant, and honey butter chicken biscuit. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Limited time only. Single item at regular price. Price and participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's.
Armchair Quarterbacks Radio covers the whole SEC the whole season long.
Dobbs heaves it. They're bunched up in the end zone. It's tipped up. It's caught. It is caught. Jawan Jennings.
Just the start of things. First quarter at the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville. As Walker sneaks to the right. Gets outside. The 35. Look out. He's past midfield and he's got a blocker. Cuts to the inside. Herschel Walker. There he goes again.
Straight up the middle. Touchdown. Delayed reaction, but Tebow got in. Oh, jump pass. How about that? Oh, my gosh. That looks like 1955. Holy cow. Are you kidding me?
Armchair.
SEC.
Welcome back to Braves Country. Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays 3 to 5 p.m. Drive time on WQEE.
I, one of Barney's best friends.
I, one of Barney's best friends.
Promise never to interfere with his personal life again.
Promise never to interfere with his personal life again.
Unless it's an issue of health, national security, or he's about to get up on a fatty.
Unless it's an issue of health, national security, or he's about to get up on a fatty.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Welcome back. As Bobby joins us, Bobby's still trying to master the email. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. You know, I don't know what it is, man, but so much of this stuff ends up in junk and spam, and I've just gotten used to it over the years that you just have to, before I even go, I can't find it, I go, hold on. Mm-hmm. You go look in spam and junk. It's 99 times out of 100. Usually once you start getting it from people, that it doesn't go, but they're just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know what causes all that kind of stuff. I know I send a lot of things to spam and junk. Sometimes I have to get, did I accidentally hit somebody to spam or junk? If you get more than 2 emails trying to sell me something, that you're heading to spam. I guarantee that. What is going on with the Arizona Cardinals, man?
Well, I wouldn't get any expectations that we're going to have anyone before the Super Bowl. It's been reported that
drag their feet, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty much confirmed now that it won't be until after the Super Bowl that we have a coach. A lot of reporters are indicating that. It's down to 2 finalists now. It won't be Brian Flores. He went to the Vikings, so he's out of the running. It's now down to the Giants offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, or the Bengals defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo. Both, I think, are quality candidates.
So you don't think they're going after anyone that's currently in the Super Bowl?
No, it's been narrowed down to those two finalists. Those are the only last two to get second interviews. What's up?
What are they dragging their feet about? I figured that they were waiting to interview someone after the Super Bowl.
Well, I think they were going all in on Sean Payton, or they had Dan Quinn. That was in their sights at first, and then Dan Quinn pulled his name out of the hat. So we pivoted to Sean Payton. That fell through. So now we're down to two candidates. Oh, it was three, but Brian Flores, he went to the Vikings, so he's now out of it, and now it's down to just two: Kafka and Anarumo.
So absolutely nobody wants to coach the Cardinals, is what it sounds like.
I wouldn't say that, but not a lot of people do.
Your heart of hearts, which of those two do you want?
I like Anarumo a lot. I think he's done a fantastic job with the Bengals defense, a defense that doesn't have nearly as much talent as the offensive side of the ball does for the Bengals. I think he's done a spectacular job at game planning. If he can bring a good offensive coordinator along with him, I'd be very happy with the hire.
It seems like that what they really need is to end up with an offensive mind. I agree with you. What's been done with that Cincinnati defense, I think the difference is the Cincinnati defense, it feels like his defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Kafka, coming from the Giants, would almost feel like he's just basically riding the coattails of Brian Daboll.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same token, you'd have a guy who saw how to fix Daniel Jones. I don't know. I think if I'm a Cardinals fan, I would want someone who can fix Kyler Murray, unless you're just assuming that it's over and you're going to build defense and you're probably not going to be successful trading him, but you're just going to write out his contract.
A priority is making sure Kyler gets back to playing like he was when he was at his best. And I think Kafka has a good shot of bringing that out of him. He did call the plays in New York. That made me feel a lot better about him being a finalist. It wasn't Daboll calling the plays. So I'd give Kafka a lot of credit on that aspect. But ultimately for me, what it comes down to, I like both candidates a lot. A big part of it is how good of a staff can they build? How good are the coordinators that they're going to bring along? How good are they? If one of them is, has better coordinators that they can bring along, I'd rather go with that one.
One thing I'll say about Daboll is he's been very impressive across the board. Mm-hmm. And if you get a guy who maybe learned something from him, right? Mm-hmm. He obviously he wins NFL Coach of the Year. And a lot of these awards I don't really put a lot of weight into. Mm-hmm. But that one to me means a little more than most of them. And I think it was appropriate that Daboll was actually the one that won it. There was talks down here that maybe Doug Peterson. I think Peterson did a fine job. But what Daboll did to get that Giants team into the playoffs is, it's right up there with curing cancer. It's like, how the hell did he do that? I really do not believe that the Giants should be re-signing Daniel Jones. I feel like that they should be saving their money, maybe hitting a cheaper free agent and build through the draft. But I think they will sign Daniel Jones. And I just think is he worth $4 for 160? So 40 million of your cap every year is going to go to Daniel Jones. I just don't buy it.
I get he was a serviceable quarterback this year, but I think
that's it. You said it perfectly. Serviceable.
Yeah, he's serviceable. Not much more. And we saw what Daboll did. And granted, he wasn't the coach in Buffalo, but he was the offensive coordinator when Josh Allen took the leap he did. So if they can go out and through the draft or something and get a quarterback that they can develop with Daboll, the sky's the limit with that offense.
That's kind of my point. Now, look, I know they don't have a high enough draft pick where it may be a thing this year, but there's a couple of names that I think, and the first one that comes off top of my head that could drop to him if he wants to take a risk, maybe in the first round, maybe second round. a guy like Hendon Hooker, right?
Mm.
Who's going to be rehabbing. But that just means that you don't sign Jones. You let Jones walk and you go, maybe just go right across to the other locker room and sign Mike White for a short deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And give him a chance to see what he can do with the Giants while you develop someone like Hooker.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on Jones. I think he's got a lot of talent, but I'm not sold that he's ever going to be the field general that's worth that big of a percentage of your salary cap. And that's the thing. It was fine to have Daniel Jones as your quarterback the last few years because you could build elsewhere. But once you have to start paying him, man, make someone else pay him.
Mm-hmm.
There's
someone out there that'll pay him. There's no doubt about it. Someone will.
Really desperate and stupid out there. Let the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go on there and back
that
up.
That makes sense. If the Raiders whiff on Rodgers, they might do it.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine that disaster? Daniel Jones goes to the Raiders. Oh, my word. Devontae Adams will be just dragged across Twitter. Yeah. I do believe they're going to re-sign him. I just don't think the Giants should. I just really think the guy, man, that you let him dry up. You just go, you know what? I'm going to take my chance. I'm going to find a lower end free agent.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be a stopgap. I'm going to draft someone this year, and he may not even be my guy, but I got to be able to go in to the ownership and say, look, we've got to take a step backwards if we're ever going to take the giant step forward.
Mm-hmm.
And if we re-sign Daniel Jones, what you're doing is you're giving me a ceiling of wild card, best case scenario, and probably a first round exit most of the time.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, I can support signing Daniel Jones back, but tying him down for 4 years would be a terrible move.
And Daniel Jones cannot be the quarterback competing in the Big Apple when he's going to have to go up against Jalen Hurts and those Eagles and Dak Prescott and that loaded Cowboy roster. And then whatever the heck Snyder's Commanders or whatever he decides to call them next year. I still think that is a firing that should have happened with Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's coming next year. So the only good news is you're probably going to have Taylor Heineke at quarterback again this coming year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Sam Howell becomes the guy.
Well, he had a solid game to end the season. So who knows?
Sam Howell could end up being, if he progresses, he could make it where Daniel Jones is the worst quarterback in the division.
That's possible. I don't want to pile on Daniel Jones too much. I still think he is a serviceable quarterback.
He's solid, but he's not.
But in that division, it's you're going to need a good quarterback.
It's just like I wouldn't load back up the truck and give a $40 million for, because that's what is essentially what they're saying. A lot of these guys are going to be looking for is 4 years, $40 million for the not 40 per, so 160 for the non-top cream of the crop quarterbacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just him I wouldn't give that to. I wouldn't give it to Geno Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm looking at if I sign a Geno Smith or a Daniel Jones type in free agency, man, I want to pay you about half that, to be honest with
you. Yeah.
I probably just want to give you a 3-year deal, and I probably only want 2 of them guaranteed. Because
tying a quarterback like that down for 4 years, it's way too risky. You could be putting your team in a big hole for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, especially Geno, because I mean, he's damn near 60 anyways. You're just going to lock him down to, not everyone's going to be playing till they're 45 just because if you saw the underwear ad, not everybody is Tom Brady. Okay. That's all I got to say. I didn't look like that when I was 20. I'm not going to look like that when I was 45. Not everybody is Tom Brady. It's just like when the many women that I've known that have, they'll beat themselves up because they don't look like a certain mom. I'm like, get over it. Nobody looks that way. That's why they're special. That's why they make all the money.
There it is. Yep.
I see all these what's the PC term they're using? The plus size models.
Yeah.
That are
body positive
here and there. When is that my turn? When are they going to let plus size models for guys? That hasn't become a thing yet. Now all the
you
guys
might need to start a movement.
Yeah, all the guys still have to go with what do you call it? 6-pack abs and all that kind of stuff. But I'm seeing a lot of women just let themselves go and they go, "We'll sign you to a deal." When is it my turn?
Let's get the movement started.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go ahead and dive into, look, the Super Bowl is here. This is one of the duller Super Bowls that I can remember. And it's not that I don't think it's going to be a good game. It's just the week leading up. There's usually a bunch of stuff. Like the only thing that really has happened this entire 2-week period is that you could say was Arizona Super Bowl related was that KD got traded to the Suns. That's like the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
Maybe because Michael Irvin did whatever the heck he did. I'm still don't quite understand what he did, but he did something to get himself sent home from NFL Network. And now he's turning around trying to sue the employee and the hotel.
Did you see this? I didn't hear about that. No.
Yeah. He's coming out with $100 million lawsuit for defamation of character for the employee and the hotel, even though evidently sometime this week he went on a podcast. I don't remember which podcast it was, but he went on a podcast and admitted that he had had several cocktails and doesn't really remember what happened. And there's video of him having some kind of interaction with the employee that said that he's supposedly he said something inappropriate. That's all I know.
Well, his lawyer's probably not too happy about him saying that on the podcast.
No, according to him, his memory's fuzzy. So I'm like, oh, he's not gonna. I think all that was done for showmanship, right? He doesn't have a leg to stand on with that. But I mean, the thing is, they weren't firing him; they were just sending him home.
It's not that bad. Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, if you just go home and shut up, everyone will forget about it. By next week, everyone's going to be laughing at the XFL and they will have forgotten everything. But you go and bring out this lawsuit. Next thing you know, there's all kinds of clickbait, and everyone else has got to come up with reasons to watch this. The Super Bowl this week, the buzz to me just isn't where it normally is. And it's strange because these are actually two really good teams. It's not like we ended up with the Giants playing like the Titans, right? Two crummy teams backing their way into the Super Bowl. We ended up with the 2-1 seeds.
Yeah, I think that's just the problem of having 2 weeks between the conference championship and the Super Bowl. And I understand why they do it, but with the rest of the playoffs, boom, 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 all the rounds one after another every weekend. And, that excitement continues throughout the week. But whenever you get 2 weeks in between, the AFC Championship, NFC Championship, and then the Super Bowl, I think you start to kind of lose track of what's happening.
I think the biggest problem is there's not that storyline that everybody cares about.
That too, yeah. If the 49ers had won, you'd have the whole revenge storyline, 49ers trying to get back at the Chiefs.
Exactly.
So that would have made a lot of sense.
And I also feel like that the 49ers have enough guys on their roster that would be giving you enough. The problem is not one of these teams are really giving anyone any kind of bulletin board material, right? I think of all the options we could have had, and I think that's why one of the reasons why I'm a little bored with this one. If it would have been 49ers and Bengals, both sides talk a lot of smack. It would have been fun.
You'd have Eli Apple and Jimmy Ward chirping at each other on the media. That'd be great.
You trying to tell me Joe Burrow wouldn't be talking some smack?
He might even get on action.
Yeah, and we would finally get to see if Brock Purdy has a personality, because I feel like he hasn't been interviewed very much. If we would have ended up like the Bills and that whole storyline, that would have been great.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up with two teams that are just they're just two good teams that really as great as Patrick Mahomes is. He's kind of dull.
Yeah. On the field, he's pretty excited. He's pretty exciting on the sidelines and stuff. That's where his character. Yeah, where his character mostly comes out on the sidelines when he's firing up his teammates, the mic'd up moments and stuff. But
he's just a really dull frog.
Yeah.
You know?
Kermit.
Yeah. Oh, you know, guys, I really tell you right now, the fourth one.
I tell you what, his dad's a character. Did you see the clip of him after the AFC Championship?
No, I didn't.
Pat Mahomes Sr. You ought to look it up. He's funny. He's a funny dude.
Oh, yeah. I remember Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes was a really good pitcher for a long time in Major League Baseball.
Well, he's funny, too. He was hilarious after the AFC Championship.
I've seen him in interviews, but I haven't seen a particular one that you're referring to. Yeah, he's been around for quite some time, and when his son first hit the scene, he was all over MLB Network all the time. They were interviewing him. So he's but the other part of it is too the brothers Kelsey. You'd think this would be a little more exciting. Well, they're not even talking smack to each other, right?
Well, they both already won a Super Bowl too. They kind of have that. They have that hardware already. There's no.
Yeah, but, I mean, I want to see some smack talk. I want to say, hey, man, this is for the bragging rights in the family.
Mm-hmm.
This is the rubber match because somebody gets a second. Not to mention, whoever wins this will always be able to laud it over his brother because the chances of them meeting again in the Super Bowl are very, very slim, right?
Yeah.
And the teams themselves, and I don't think we're going to get the exciting shootout that a lot of people are betting on. I really don't think it's going to be that. I think you're going to see two very good defenses play with chips on their shoulder. And I think that's going to be more of the storyline of Super Bowl 57. We have to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of those Super Bowl prop bets. Keep it locked in here on the Key in Braves Country HD, wherever you stream. It's Bobby and McGee taking you all the way to the top of the hour. Hey, sports fans. The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE, The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@BravesCountry.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neal, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Here's good news. There's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles Veneer Special includes 1 free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
McLovin? McLovin? What kind of a stupid name is that, Fogel? What, are you trying to be an Irish R&B singer?
Oh, they let you pick any name you want when you get down there.
And you landed on McLovin.
Yeah, I was between that and Muhammad.
Why would it be between that or Muhammad? Why don't you pick a common name like a normal person?
Muhammad is the most commonly used name on earth. Read a book for once.
Fogel, have you ever actually met anyone named Muhammad?
Have you actually ever met anyone named McLovin?
You look like a future pedophile in this picture, number 1. Number 2, it doesn't even have a first name. It just says McLovin. What? One name? One name? Who are you, Seal?
I am McLovin.
Welcome back to Braves Country. Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 to 5 p.m., drive time on WQEE. Oh, baby! We are just 48 days away from opening day. Caribbean Series Championship game is tonight. I was thinking about calling the game, but I've got something that came up. I've got some on my honey-do list. I got to get ready for the Super Bowl, so that ain't going to happen. But I am planning on doing some WBC games. It's going to be Dominican Republic versus Venezuela. Really good matchup. So if you get a chance to check that out, believe the only way to get it is one of those extra streaming apps. I don't think it's on regular primetime TV. But that's not going to stop us talk about the Super Bowl, so let's go on. I'd be more inclined to have try to make it happen tonight with the broadcast if Acuna was playing for Venezuela, but he left because of the way the fans treated his family in the stands. So Acuna is going to be in the WBC, though. We look forward to that. Let's go ahead and get into the Super Bowl prop bets. By the way, the line's still at 1.5. It really is amazing to me that the line has not moved either, up or down. Mm-hmm. Really strange. And I wonder if it's going to stay at 1.5 or if we're going to see a big surge on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, there'll probably be some more bets coming in. I don't know if it'll be enough to sway the line with how steady it's been, but we'll see.
I think if it does, it's going to go towards the Eagles. Mm. I think what you'll get more than anything else is you're going to get the sharps taking the Chiefs and the points, or the Chiefs on the money line, which right now most books have them at an even. Whereas if you take the Eagles on the money line, it's a minus 120. Mm-hmm. And that's strange because usually minus 1.5, the money line is usually not as low as 120. It's usually minus 130, 135. And that tells me the book wants you to bet the Eagles. They are trying to tempt you to grab the Eagles. And it's a little strange. There's so many. Right now, the money is about even, and the sharp money is about even. But come Super Bowl Sunday, there's always a big push one way or the other. I suspect it's going to be towards Patrick Mahomes and company, because it's going to be such a close game. If someone's going to give you points in your pocket, it's kind of hard to turn away on that. Mm-hmm. All right, looking at the prop bets. Now, we'll do a lot more of this on the Sunday show. We'll be here on Braves Country HD Sunday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And we're going to do our locks and all that kind of stuff for the actual Super Bowl. But we want to take a look at some of these prop bets in the Super Bowl. And you got any that have grabbed your eye so far?
Yeah, I'm looking at I like Isaiah Pacheco over 16.5 receiving yards. I believe he had in the 90s. I can't remember the exact number, but I believe he had somewhere in the 90s last week. He had a huge game. I guess they're just going to use him more in the passing game, trying to open it up, get him coming out of the backfield, catching some passes. I could see him doing that in the Super Bowl as well, especially against a good front seven in the Eagles.
I'm looking for a Super Bowl MVP. I'll tell you another strange thing is that now the book I'm looking at right now is about even. Hurts is plus 130 for MVP. Mahomes is plus 135, but a lot of the books has Mahomes as the favorite for Super Bowl MVP, but has the Chiefs as the underdog.
I could see that. Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it. But also, I think there's some guys on the Eagles' offense that can steal the shine from Hurts. If AJ Brown, if he goes for 100 yards, 8 catches, and a couple touchdowns or something, he could steal it away from him. I mean, Kupp got it last year with 92 yards. He didn't even lead the game in receiving yards, and he won Super Bowl MVP. So I think it's possible that AJ Brown or Devontae Smith even comes in and steals it away.
Now, Devontae Smith is interesting because if he could do it, he's plus 2,800 right now at MVP.
I like that value. I wouldn't put a ton of money on it, but there's potential for it to happen. He's had huge games.
Yeah, I like that value. I think it's a solid value with Travis Kelce. He's plus 1,200. AJ Brown's a little in the middle. AJ Brown's plus 1,800. I think if I was going to put one or the other on, I would bet on Devontae before I bet on AJ Brown, just because you're getting a much better value on it. And the one I don't like, Miles Sanders plus 2,800. I don't think they tend to abandon him at all costs near the goal line. So for him to score, he's got to score from far out.
Yeah, and he'll have to do it a couple times, most likely.
Right. It seems like he always gets vultured. I mean, where's Gainwell at? I think I would rather take a dart throw at Gainwell. I don't see him on this board. They might have taken him off. He was on here earlier in the week, so someone must have put some hay on him. They said, no, we're not doing that. Boston Scott's plus 15,000.
Plus 15,000. Wow.
I just feel like if you're going to do that, you're kind of throwing your money down the toilet.
Yeah, at that point.
It's just like the Frank Clark plus 12,500. I mean, is there now? Here's an interesting one. Considering the fact that we know that Jalen Hurts has a bum shoulder, what if Chris Jones sits on his shoulder in the first few minutes of the game, and they get the old bums rush treatment just like they gave Brock Purdy, and he has to come out of the game? Gardner Minshew is plus 12,500.
The stars would have to align for that one.
And the Eagles won. They would give it to Minshew. They just would. I don't care if it 18-15. They would say Minshew really saved the day.
I mean, the value's there. I wouldn't put much on it. Again, that's another one that I wouldn't put more than $1 on. But
sorry, Gainwell's 6,500.
Oh, okay.
Pacheco's 5,000. Kadarius Toney. If I'm going to pick one of those, I'm going to go all in on Kadarius Toney. 12,500. Is that the dude who could break a play or two? He might only get 5 touches, but he could break 2 big plays, and that's all anyone will talk about on Monday.
He absolutely could. The only concern I have with that is that he's coming back from an injury, and you know how easy it is for him to hurt his hamstring.
And I give Chad Henne's plus 15,000.
Well, if Mahomes goes out of the game, I don't give the Chiefs any chance.
But you could say the same thing if Hurts comes out of the game.
I think the Eagles' chances diminish severely, but I think the gap between Minshew and Hurts is a lot smaller than Henne and Mahomes.
Henne led a 98-yard touchdown drive against the Jaguars in the playoffs.
He did. I don't want to take a ton of credit away. He's won them a playoff game before when Mahomes has gone down. So he's not terrible. He's a serviceable backup, but I don't see the Chiefs. I don't see a path to victory for them if Mahomes goes out of that game.
I'm just saying, if both quarterbacks go down, I would rather lean on Chad Henne than Gardner Minshew, because Gardner Minshew got shut out essentially at home by the Saints.
Yeah,
and this was after he had 2 full weeks of practice in. Chad Henne actually looked like that he knew the playbook.
Well, Henne's a quality backup. He's good. He's come through in big moments. But that's a long shot. That's a big long shot.
The problem with Daniel Jones is he reminds me more of Chad Henne than he does Patrick Mahomes. You're talking about giving $40 million a year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
If
I'm
you
with you
gave
there.
Chad Henne some wheels, you essentially have Daniel Jones.
I think Daniel Jones might be closer to me than he is to Mahomes.
All right, Super Bowl MVP. We'll put that one on the back burner. Record the most sacks.
I could see Hassan Reddick getting that.
Well, he's the favorite, plus 375.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Chris Jones is 500. Frank Clark is 750.
Chris Jones doesn't get a ton of sacks. I think he only got his first sack in the playoffs the AFC Championship game. He could have a huge game, but I like 375 for Reddick. I think that's good value.
What about Fletcher Cox, 2,200?
If a Eagles defensive tackle is going to do it, I'd be more likely to think it's Hargrave. But I mean, Fletcher Cox has the experience. I guess there's potential there. It's not bad value at 2,200. If you want to put $1 on it.
$1. Oh my!
I'm not putting. What do you want me to do? Put $100 on Fletcher Cox to lead the game in sacks?
Sean and Steven, they text me with 7-10 team parlays and they've put 50 cents on. I'm like, would you quit eating up my data for just nonsense? It's like, come on, man. Sean's the worst about it. Sean will have this parlay like the length of your arm, but then you'll notice in the corner that he's literally put like $1 on it. I'm like, what am I looking at here, man? If you win, you get what? Like a free cheeseburger somewhere? I mean, come on. If you're gonna
4 for 4.
Oh, here's a crazy one. No sacks recorded 2,000.
Nah.
Honestly, if I was gonna take any of them, I'd probably take that one.
I'm going.
I don't think it's
Reddick.
gonna
That's
happen.
my favorite one. Granted, I'm a big Hassan Reddick fan. I love what he did in his last year in Arizona, and I still am furious at the Cardinals for letting him walk. But so I am a little biased, yes. But I think Reddick's going to lead the game in sacks.
And Dominican Sue's 3,500. Of course, that also happens to be his weight and age. Color liquid of the winning Super Bowl team. We've talked about this all week. So if you go
like the Gatorade,
go lime green yellow, which is a combo, any of those are right. That's the leader in the clubhouse. So you don't get a whole lot there.
That would be my guess.
That's just plus 140. If you want to actually make some hay, the blue and the orange, they're 250. The red is 600. It's really surprising me that the red is 600 because it's a very popular flavor, and the Kansas City Chiefs, if they were to win, we would think would have red.
That would make sense. Is this for Gatorade or what?
It says liquid.
Liquid.
So
well, I think red's a pretty popular Powerade color. So who knows?
Right. If you did clear / water, whatever it ends up being, because you know they have clear flavors, it's plus 800.
Not liking that.
I don't know who makes the descent. Who makes the actual decision if something is clear, or is it like a light yellow? Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who is the one that makes the purple's plus 1,200? But I don't know if I've ever seen someone dump purple before.
No. I would if you think the Chiefs are going to win that game, I would get in on the red.
That's what I'm saying. The reason why yellow and green, lime, why it's the favorite is because it represents both colors of both teams, right? You got yellow for the Chiefs and green for the Eagles. But at the same token, if you went clear, that's Eagles-ish. They're green and white.
Yeah. I guess
I don't want purple unless the Vikings or the LA Lakers end up in the Super Bowl.
What's a purple AFC team? Is there one? I don't think there is.
Not that I can think of. I mean, maybe if you mash together the Buffalo Bills and blue and red, that's purple.
Or maybe the Broncos, if they made it, they'd go purple because that's kind of close to navy blue.
Well, they're orange and blue, so it'd probably be one of those. But I don't know.
Well, they have a dark blue though, so maybe they'd go purple.
Who will be shown first? America the Beautiful. Minus 245 is the leader with Travis Kelce. A.J. Brown plus 180.
And what's this again?
Who will be shown first while they are playing America the Beautiful?
Are you betting on one or the other? Because why the?
Because I guess they'll probably pan the entire sideline.
I'd go Kelce.
Are they going to show Andy Reid or Nick Sirianni first?
Andy Reid.
Yeah,
I think
he's
they go
minus
Reid.
185. Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts? Mahomes.
Yeah.
Minus
a clean sweep for the Chiefs.
Or you can the Chiefs staff or the Eagles staff.
Well, if they're showing one sideline first, I guess I'm going all in with the Chiefs there.
I think I would go Chiefs staff because there could be rumblings about Eric Bieniemy being interviewed or something like right before kickoff.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see another goofy one real quick. Will Kansas City win the coin toss and the game? It's plus 275.
Well, that's just that comes down to 50-50 odds pretty much. I don't know if I trust that. I already don't trust them enough to put money on to win the Super Bowl, but I'd stay away from that one. I'd steer clear.
Well, the Eagles, if they win the coin toss, the game is plus 230.
I think the Chiefs will win, but if I'm not parlaying the two. I'm sticking with just Chiefs money line here.
Will the team that calls the coin toss in Super Bowl 57 be correct?
Yes.
It's a minus 105. I actually thought it would be more difficult odds. We got to take a quick break, top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to do cool games. And there's a twist to it this week. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country. Keep it locked in here on 99.1 FM. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Tiger Woods has committed to next week's Genesis Invitational he announced on Friday. Quote, "I'm ready to play an actual PGA Tour event next week." Woods Foundation serves as the Genesis Invitational organizer. He was in the LA area for the event February 2021 when he suffered a major leg injury in a car crash. He played only 3 full events, all majors, in 2022, finishing in 47th at the Masters before withdrawing from the PGA Championship after the 3rd round and missing the cut at the Open. The Dominican Republic punched their ticket to the Caribbean Series championship game. They downed Mexico 8-3. On the other side, Venezuela took out Colombia 7-5. The two will face off tonight at 6:30 Eastern, while Colombia and Mexico are in the consolation game. The WBC Classic begins in just 3 weeks. The association takes center stage Friday night with a doubleheader on ESPN. Charlotte is at Boston at 7:30, and the Cavs are at the Pelicans. Great matchup of 2 upstart teams in the NBA this year. That game is at 10 p.m. Other games around the league: Timberwolves at the Grizzlies, Suns at the Pacers, Knicks are at the 76ers, the Jazz travel to Toronto. Late night has Mavs at Kings and Bucks at Clippers. College basketball, top 20 action as Xavier is at Butler. Xavier 11-2 on the year, trying to avoid upset from the Bulldogs, who are 3-10 overall. And at 6 Eastern on ESPN2, Kent State is at Buffalo. On the plus, you've got Marist at St. Peter's and Fairfield at Ryder at 7. Also on the plus at 7 o'clock, Quinnipiac at Niagara, Siena at Mount St. Mary's, and Iona at Canisius. 8 Eastern on ESPN2. St. Louis at Dayton. Should be a good one in the A10. While at 9 o'clock Eastern, New Mexico, having a good year out in the Mountain West, will try to take advantage of a down year by the Air Force Falcons. And your late tilt at 11 o'clock is Fresno State at Nevada. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Whenever I bring home Entenmann's Little Bites muffins...
Little Bites?
That's right, sweetie. Can you just give Mommy a minute?
I love Little Bites!
I know you do, but we're doing a commercial right now, okay?
Got it.
As I was saying, whenever I bring home you-know-what, you-know-who gets pretty excited. And so do I. Little Bites muffins are made with real ingredients, no high-fructose corn syrup, and are baked moist and delicious.
I love Little Bites!
Here you go.
Yes!
Entenmann's Little Bites muffins. The perfect portion of happiness.
Hey, Braves fans, the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel are bringing you Braves Baseball all season long. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I'll be bringing you Braves Baseball play-by-play for the Braves fans out there, for all of Braves Country. So pull up an armchair and join us for Braves Country Baseball, first pitch to last pitch, Tuesday and Friday nights, right here on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
I don't believe what I'm seeing. Where you been all your lives? At an orgy? Listening to Mick Jagger music and bad-mouthing your country, I'll bet. Use your peripheral vision. Understand? Yes, sir. Now, every time I say understand, I want the whole group to say, yes, sir. Understand? Yes, sir. Understand? Yes, sir. Now, I know why most of you are here. We're not stupid. Before you get to sell what we teach you over at United Airlines, you have to give the Navy 6 years of your life, sweet pea. Lots of things can happen in 6 years. Another war can come up in 6 years.
Are you listening?
Welcome back. There's a weather advisory for the Noonan, Georgia, Atlanta area. Possible rain mixed with snow later on this evening. Which is interesting because the degrees of temperature doesn't look like it's going to drop low enough for that. But that's what the advisory is showing me on the Weather Channel's map. So I don't know what to make of that, because Bobby, it says it's going to get down to about 40 degrees. Well, last time I checked, freezing was 32. So I don't know how I don't know how that's going to work out, but just be advised of that for those who are out there traveling around. We're about to get some rain here in the Jacksonville area, sweeping across. I don't think it's anything that threatening. It's that time of year from about February till about, we'll say beginning of November, where it rains every day in Florida. So, yeah, there's that. Okay. Cool games. Now, look, it's very obvious what the cool game is of the weekend, right? So I didn't even think that was even worth bringing up, because everybody knows that Celtics Hornets tonight is the game that you're going to get locked into. No, obviously Super Bowl 57. So around that, as you're waiting for the rest of while you're waiting for that game to unfold Sunday night, you got to do something with your time. So I told Bobby to grab one game that he's most interested in, and then I would do the same, and then we'll kind of look at some of the others. So I'm interested to see what's the one game that you chose.
I'm going to the NBA slate tonight. I got a later game. I got Kings versus Mavs. Obviously, Luke is going to be out tonight, unfortunately, but we get to see Kyrie's second game in Dallas. We get to see a Mavs team that's been great this year. They've exceeded all expectations. They're actually competitive in the West. So it could have some long-term implications on the seeding when it comes down to it in the playoffs. So I think it could be an interesting game, and I look forward to see how Kyrie does in the second game.
Now, with that trade, who is your Final Four in the NBA?
I got the Mavs and the Suns, both teams that were active at the deadline.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid, okay?
I am, yeah. I think the Suns will get it back together. I've never bought into the idea that this season was a lost cause. Booker's been out for a while. I think when he comes back and that team gets back into a rhythm, they'll be fine. They'll make the playoffs with no problem, and I think they'll make a deep run. And then for the Mavs, they already got Luka, who's fantastic. They already are having a solid season, and then they add Kyrie to go along with that. I think it'll be an exciting matchup, and I'm hoping to see that in the Western Conference Finals.
See, the problem with putting the Mavs and Kings as the cool game tonight is it's not on television.
Yeah, well, that and it's not on until like 10 Eastern time. So
yeah, it's impossible for the average Joe to watch that game because there's a doubleheader on ESPN tonight. But the late game tonight is, I just had it in front of me, Cavs versus Pelicans.
Ugh.
So you've already lost that argument. It can't be a cool game if it's not even on TV.
Hey, man, I didn't say it was ESPN or whatever's cool game. I said it's my cool game.
Well, how is the average person going to be able to watch this?
There's websites. I won't get into it. You can find ways to find it online. You can buy the NBA passes
There's a way
or
to
whatever.
download something and get a virus. There we go.
Look, man, if you want to watch the game, I'm not advising it. I'm just giving you options.
At least you didn't pick Lakers Warriors the Saturday night game. I saw that.
And I'm not buying into what the Lakers have done at the deadline. I don't think it's going to change their outlook on the
six
season.
games under 500. They haven't done anything.
Not gonna
They shouldn't be the national game of the week on ABC Saturday night, leading into the Super Bowl, going up against a really big UFC card, right?
Yes, sir. Not the greatest card, but a fantastic main event.
Right. That shouldn't be the game.
Mm-hmm.
They could have come up with a lot, obviously, months and months to pre-plan it. So as far as what's going to be played tomorrow, that's not really the argument. The argument is they could have set something else up. I mean, look, tomorrow night, are the Mavs and Kings playing back-to-backs?
Maybe.
Showing Mavs and Kings tomorrow night as well.
They might be playing a back-to-back. Unless
so it's in Sacramento
mm-hmm.
tonight. Is it in Dallas tomorrow? No. Why are they playing back-to-back? Something's wrong here. They're playing two games back-to-back. I can't fathom why that would be.
I didn't know they did back-to-back at the same arena. I thought
they typically don't.
Yeah.
Really strange. Almost wonder if something had gotten postponed, if it's like a makeup date from something else.
You
know, maybe, we haven't had the COVID situation this year, but maybe. Well, I mean, it's Sacramento. I can't imagine it was snowed out. But I mean, if it's going to snow here in Georgia at 40 degrees, I guess it can snow anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Okay, my cool game. I'm going to college basketball, and I think the one of all the ones, and there's a lot to cherry pick from tomorrow. But I'm looking at the one that probably has the best chance of being an interesting game as far as it's hard to believe, but tomorrow we have just one. Is that right? No. Okay. I'm sorry. There's two games that are top 25 showdowns tomorrow.
That's it. Wow.
Now almost everyone's in action, but to have two, now that's pretty strange this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it really comes down to Baylor TCU or the one that I'm actually picking. What time is this one at? The Baylor TCU, by the way, is at 4:00. And this is the only reason why I'm a little hesitant to pick it, because I hate the time period of it. It's 2:00 tomorrow on Fox, but UConn, Creighton, that should be a great ball game. That's my number one game of the weekend. Obviously not counting the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of duds on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not counting this as a game, perhaps, but I will say it's a late card tomorrow. It starts at 11 Eastern time, the UFC 284 card. You got pound for pound number 1 and pound for pound number 2 fighting. So definitely worth watching.
Right, but that's not a game, right?
Yeah, that's why I won't count it as a game. I will advise anybody who may want to start you watching UFC, this might be the one to watch.
Yeah, I don't get into the weeds with that, because then at that rate we're going to have to go into the world of boxing. We're going to have to get into all these things. The next thing you know, Joey and Tones are going to want to bring up wrestling, and then that's where I'm out. I was like, no, man. I'm not.
At least Penn State's good at wrestling. I'll give them that.
They're not wrestling. They watch wrestling.
That. Okay. We're talking the.
No.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when these pythons get a hold of you, brother? That kind of stuff.
Professional wrestling, yeah.
Now college Greco-Roman wrestling, that's a sport. That's a heck of a sport. Absolutely. Wrestling is a very well put together event, but it's not a sport. So you have to be athletic to do it. Nobody wants to see a bunch of fat dudes, So you have to be athletic to do it, but it's not a sport.
Yeah.
A sport, you have to be stopping someone legitimately or trying to stop someone legitimately. Now, there are some other games of interest, and I'm going to throw some at you real quick. The first one that jumps out at me is in the Southeastern Conference tomorrow, 2:00 Eastern. Number 3, Alabama is at Auburn, and I think there's a chance for an upset there.
That's possible. Alabama absolutely gave it to Florida the other day. That was a complete blowout. Alabama looks like the best team in the SEC right now, with Tennessee kind of struggling a little bit, falling behind. I guess that's possible with Bama being on the road, but I think Bama would probably win that with how they're playing right now.
I find it interesting that the spread's only 2.5.
That's low.
Because Auburn struggles to score, and Alabama's the highest scoring team in the SEC. But it's a road game, and it is a rivalry game. That's why I'm giving them a chance. It would have been my cool game, but they're both not ranked because Auburn fell out of the top 25 last week. And once again, it's at 2:00 Eastern. I'm like, what in the world are they doing? Why are so many games at 2:00 Eastern? I guess ESPN's trying to make you watch the UFC card. But usually there's something a little more spread out. So anyways, that's one. Another one of interest, and it's got to be top 25. I'm not going to go into the weeds with teams who are unranked, right? There's got to at least be one team of interest. Normally Kansas, Oklahoma, but Oklahoma is abysmal this year, so I'm not going there.
Yeah.
Another one of interest, see if they can rebound a little bit. Rutgers is at Illinois. Rutgers number 24 in the country. They're 8-5. Illinois is 7-5 in the Big Ten. I don't think you can consider that a cool game, though.
Probably not something I'd be tuning into, but if you're big in the college basketball scene, that's your.
What about 4 Eastern? The Duke Blue Devils are at number 8 Virginia.
That might be interesting. I know Duke isn't quite what they used to be, but I guess potential upset there. ACC matchup. That might be something I'd tune into if I'm scrolling along and I see them. Might check it out.
Baylor TCU should be a good game. I just don't know if there's a lot of buzz for a lot of people caring about that in the Southeast.
Yeah.
This should be a decent matchup. Missouri is 6-5 in the SEC. Tennessee hosts them at 8-3. Tennessee has been reeling past couple of games. They played terribly against Auburn. They lost to Vandy, and I believe they were a 10-point favorite that night. That's a got to get healthy game for the Volunteers.
They're struggling, and I think they were as high as number 2 in the country, right? At one point.
They were last week when they got upset by Florida. Did you see, by the way, that late in the game of the Alabama-Florida game that was trending on Twitter, when Alabama was up by like 30 on Florida, they started doing the Florida State tomahawk chop.
Oh no, that's just sad.
All these Gator fans are like trashing Florida State. We haven't done anything, man. We haven't done a thing. We're just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm laughing. Your basketball team suck. Like, well, yeah, I know our basketball team.
It isn't you guys that's trolling us though.
That's what
Bama fans.
That's honestly what makes it even funnier to me.
I guess they figured out how to get in our heads. It makes sense.
Yeah, they were doing the chop and the chant at the same time. I was like, wow.
Nails on a chalkboard.
Here's a fun one. A team that started off slow, Indiana at Michigan. 6 o'clock ESPN. And Indiana, they took down Purdue last week. They're playing good basketball, but Michigan's playing much better. And now they've worked their way onto the bubble.
Mm-hmm. That's a big game for Michigan, given that they are on the bubble. That might be something I'd tune into. I wouldn't, plan my whole day around it, but that might be something I'd check out considering what's at stake for Michigan.
I'll tell you a game that people should be locked into, but they probably won't be because it's West Coast teams. A very good matchup tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Oregon is hosting number 7 UCLA. Oregon beat Southern Cal last night like a drum, 78-60. Oregon has been playing really good basketball, and UCLA Oregon, that is that is must-see TV for me, but I'm a really big college basketball fan. So I don't know if that really qualifies as a cool game, but I'm definitely going to be locked into it. I can tell you that right now. And there's one more that this is just upset city. Keep an eye on this, but don't go crazy because it is 10 o'clock on the Deuce. BYU, who's solid this year, they travel to number 16 Gonzaga. Did you watch that Gonzaga St. Mary's game last weekend?
I didn't know.
Absolute collapse. Gonzaga dominated that game.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is St. Mary's was a small favorite. It was like a possession favorite, like 3.5, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching it because I had taken St. Mary's on the money line. I was like, well, this is a waste. My God. I'm like watching the entire game. Like, man, St. Mary's, my God, their offense looks terrible. Somehow they come back from a double-digit deficit, take it to overtime, and they cover the spread.
Oh, my.
I was like, chicken dinner. I'd actually gone to bed because they were
you're about
8 points with like 6 minutes. I'd be up early. I was like, I can't stand for this. I'm just going to check it in the morning. And I was like, how bad they Lisco? They won. They had to win and cover the spread. I'm like, overtime, baby. Overtime. All right, where are we going for your lock of the night?
My lock of the night, I got the Pacers -2.5 against the Suns at home. I know everybody's probably throwing money at the Suns right now, but they don't have Booker. He's still out. He's nursing an injury. KD won't be playing tonight. Cam Payne, he's also out there, backup point guard. And then for obvious reasons, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are both out for the Suns. So, yeah.
Going to be there.
What?
When is KD going to be there?
It might be after the All-Star break. I'm not sure. I haven't quite I don't think there's any there hasn't been any definite reports. I don't know. I know he's dealing with something with his knee right now. I don't know if that's just what they're putting on the injury report.
He's been injured, so I'm not expecting him to play. But I'm curious, like, when's he physically going to be with the team?
Yeah, I don't know what the timeline is. I haven't seen any definite reports about that, so that's something.
The NBA is so lazy compared to Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trading deadline happens at like 4 o'clock Eastern. Some of the guys are like walking into the clubhouse by first pitch that night.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right,
at least Kyrie got straight to it. I'll give him props there. He got straight to it.
I am going to give you. You're going to take that. I'm going to take Akron on the money line, -135. They're at Ohio. Ohio's missing a couple of players in action. And Akron, I think, might be the best team in the conference. They're going to bounce back tonight, get the W. I think that game's 7 o'clock. If you're wanting to put a little cheese on it, trust me. Akron, baby. Akron. Akron's the play tonight. Akron. If you're wanting something a little more tasty, I really like Kent State at Buffalo, but I would probably do a money line parlay on Kent State and Akron because the payout on the single money line isn't quite as great. There's a couple others that I could bore you with, but I really like Fairfield tonight, Northern Kentucky. But Akron, Kent State, moneyline parlay, let's go. All right, brother, we will see you on Sunday's show. And what is your walk-off?
My walk-off, Texans fans, you guys are in my prayers. Cliff Kingsbury is being interviewed for offensive coordinator to join that staff. If that happens, AFC South, you guys are lucky. But the
Texans,
that's he's getting an interview for the offensive coordinator spot, and Texans fans, I pray for you. That's all I can say.
Why would Ryans do? Does Ryans have some kind of like link to him or something?
I don't know. Well, he also hired the Cardinals defensive line coach to come be defensive coordinator. So I don't know what he's doing, poaching all of the former Cardinals guys, but that seems to be a strategy.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
About this time 2 years from now, the Houston Texans will be on the clock. I wouldn't take Kingsbury in because you're going to draft a quarterback that you need to develop.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I checked, he's not very good at doing that.
It didn't go too well this time in the league. Nope. So I wouldn't give him another shot if I was the Texans.
They keep leaning on that whole he coached Patrick Mahomes in college.
He may have coached him, but he couldn't win with them. That's
for
sure.
Coach him up.
No.
He wasn't like he was the number 1 overall draft pick, and Texas Tech went to the college football playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what the logic is.
Won the Heisman. That was Andy Reid. All right, brother. We will see you on the Super Bowl show. Have a great night. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Brian Snow is going to join us here on Braves Country HD. Keep it locked in here on the Key in Braves Country HD, wherever you may stream. Hey, sports fans. The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@BravesCountry.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, Braves fans, the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel are bringing you Braves Baseball all season long. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I'll be bringing you Braves Baseball play-by-play for the Braves fans out there, for all of Braves Country. So pull up an armchair and join us for Braves Country Baseball, first pitch to last pitch, Tuesday and Friday nights, right here on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel. Welcome back to Braves Country. Max McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays 3 to 5 p.m. Drive time on WQEE. Welcome back. And joining us for the first time, but not the last time, is Mr. Brian Snow. Brian, how the hell are you, my friend?
It's Super Bowl weekend, and I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir. We're looking forward to this. We'll be having Brian on. Now, typically, Brian will be coming on Wednesdays, 3:15 Eastern. We'll be talking a lot of different sports. I'll be jumping on his show. It'll be next week. It'll be Wednesday, but going forward after that, it'll be on Mondays. And we'll
Right.
to remind you all that. I'm going to put Brian's station in the chat here in a second. But where can they find you if they're riding around listening and can't see the link?
If they can't, well, the easiest way where you can find me is to search Snowman Multimedia on all of my social media. That's the YouTube channel, no space. Search Snowman Multimedia. That's where you can find me. And you can also listen live on snowmanmultimediasports.com.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat so everyone can jump in on that. And like I said, Brian typically will be joining us here on Braves Country on Wednesdays. I'm going to return the favor on Mondays. Next week, I'm going to jump in on Wednesday. It's a long story that no one cares about. I can't do it Monday.
Right.
But anyways, we are looking forward to this partnership and looking forward to a Super Bowl finally getting here. I don't know about you, but this has been one of the duller. It's like I was telling Bobby last hour. It's not the matchup. It's not the game that's dull to me. In fact, we don't even like great storylines. No one's talking smack. No, you're not dealing with any of that. You don't have. I still think it's way too early in the game for people to be even thinking about that. Oh well, if Patrick Mahomes wins this, he may be the GOAT and all this junk that I see ESPN splatter on there. Like you're talking about a guy who possibly could win his second Super Bowl. He's still 5 away from Tom Brady. So that's like, come on. I mean, let's stop that. But the other storyline, of course, is Jalen Hurts having a chance to basically silence his critics. And I still contend, if I had a vote, Jalen Hurts would have been my MVP in the National Football League this year. What say you?
Agreed. Jalen Hurts has been the MVP all season long. Patrick Mahomes has just come on lately, which is usually how an MVP race is decided. Because if you look at the NBA, 2015, no one knew who the hell Steph Curry was, and all of a sudden he's being crowned MVP for the Golden State Warriors, who eventually won the championship. But yeah, Jalen Hurts has been the MVP all season long, and I was stuck on him.
So I don't know if this makes a difference, but did you know your mic is pointing straight up as opposed to right in front of your face?
Yeah, I'm aware because earlier today I'm on location. I'm not in my studio.
Oh, cool.
Earlier today I tried using my headset mic, but unfortunately I kept running into internet problems and connection problems. I don't want to do that here.
I do the same kind of thing sometimes. I'm like, man, I didn't even realize. You know what I mean?
Trust me. Early in my career, I always had 2 headsets because one of the schools I worked for was too cheap to help me get supplies. So I always learned to come prepared.
Where are you vacationing at, Brian?
I'm living in Indiana right now, and I'm at a Starbucks because I decided to go out of studio today. I figured the heck with it. I'll go with it and see what happens. And so far so good.
We are, of course, I'm down here in Florida, and the weather. You know what gets me? I swear, it's like the heavens know this every single Super Bowl. So we always have a big get together for Super Bowl Sunday. All who live around me that we become good friends with. And we always invite folks. So this year on 20 or 30 people. And without fail, and we're in Florida, without fail, it'll be nice, warm all week leading up in Super Bowl Sunday. Cold.
It's raining. It's cold and it's raining.
This Super Bowl Sunday, it's going to get down into the low 40s with a wet wind. I'm like, come on, you're killing me.
I know the feeling because I lived in North Carolina. My wife and I lived in North Carolina for 2 years. Trust me, I know the feeling.
It's unbelievable. I mean, if you live in Indiana, you expect terrible weather, right? But
Yes.
you're in Florida, you're like, come on. I mean, first of all, it wouldn't be as bad if it was cold all week and you're just dealing with it. But it's been
Mhm.
the last 7 to 10 days, and I looked at the weather today to see what it would be like on a kickoff. Like, are you kidding me? It's going to be cold and windy and wet, and they're all going to be huddled inside because we've got it set up to where folks can be in our backyard and all that kind of stuff to watch. But no one's going to want to do that at that rate.
I wouldn't either.
All right, getting into this actual game, what is the key to this game between the Eagles and Chiefs to you? What is going to bend either the Eagles or the Chiefs way? And are you looking for a high-scoring game? The over-under is 51. Or are you looking for a lower score?
I'm looking for a 60-point game.
Really?
Because you're talking about two of the best offenses in the NFL, the Eagles and the Chiefs. And I wouldn't be surprised if both teams put 30 points on the board. But the key for me is going to be how well can that Chiefs offensive line withstand that ferocious Eagles pass rush. Because as the Eagles demonstrated 2 weeks ago, with an improving 49er offensive line, that pass rush was absolutely phenomenal. And the one key player for Philadelphia defensively is going to be Hassan Reddick. How much chaos can he cause for that Chiefs offensive line? Because if he can cause enough chaos and they get to Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be a long afternoon for the Chiefs offensive line because the Eagles defense is just going to keep coming.
See, I'm actually thinking that now I hedged my bets a little bit because I took a teaser with Kansas City, taking Kansas City and the over. At the time, though, the over-under was only 48.5.
Mm-hmm.
And so that took it down to 42.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was gettable. I also feel like it's going to be a close game. And if you're going to give me, at the time, Kansas City 2.5-point underdog, if you're going to give me 8.5 points in my pocket and Patrick, I'll take my chances, right?
Right.
Then as it started to climb and it went to the 51-52 range, then I did the same thing. I still took Kansas City. I want that 7.5, 8-point deficit, or but then I banged the under. I don't know if it's going to quite get to that 60. I kind of what you said there with the running. I feel like the Chiefs are going to have a hard time moving the ball, but I also feel like the Chiefs' defense is a little underrated. And you've got a team, regardless how it plays out, the Eagles want to run the ball. They want to eat the clock. And that's going to play into big time when if you took the straight up over and it's sitting, I honestly think by kickoff, if you wait on this, y'all, by kickoff, that over is going to be 52, 53 points. It always happens on Super Bowl Sunday. It climbs at least a point. You're talking about needing 7 touchdowns and a field goal plus just to get the over. And the Chiefs, conversely, for them to move the ball, the Chiefs are going to dink and dunk because, like you said, with Reddick and company coming from Mahomes, I don't think they're going to have time to sit back there and just gun it deep. I think there's going to be a lot of jet sweeps, dump off passes, et cetera, et cetera. What the Chiefs do is they almost use the short passing game as their running game, right? And CEH is back, et cetera, et cetera. I just think both teams are going to eat up a lot of clock. And it's not that they want to score. It's how quickly can they get to the end zone.
Well, red zone opportunities are going to be huge for both teams because they love operating within the red zone. Who will have more touchdowns than field goals in the red zone is going to be another key.
I'll tell you something else that I haven't heard many people touch on, but the kicking game is going to be huge too. And you've got 2 really good field goal kickers, and he's cleaned it up, but Butker did have a bit of a hiccup a few weeks back, and you're starting to think he might have got the yips. Now he cleaned it up a little bit.
At least Butker isn't experiencing what Brett Maher went through.
No, but he was. I don't know who has done that in recent memory, but it was a little scary because you're going, man, this is a Pro Bowl kicker, and all of a sudden he had the yips for like a game and a half. He finally got it figured out before the playoffs started, and everything's been fine. I think he did miss that one field goal against Jacksonville, but other than that, he's been fine. You wonder if this game comes down to a field goal, could that end up being the decision? How many punts you think we get in this game?
Less than 5.
Oh yeah. I was thinking the over-under on that's got to be 2.5, something like that.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be less than 5 because, as we both talked about and you've talked about throughout the show, two very dynamic offenses with two dynamic quarterbacks. You look less than 5 punts for this game.
I also believe you got two head coaches that like to go for it. So if it's 4th and manageable, and as long as you're not sitting on your own 20, there's a good chance that Andy Reid and Sirianni are both going to go for it.
Especially Nick Sirianni. I mean, that's the way he's gambled all year. I mean, that play against San Francisco that ended up being a long completion to Devontae Smith, which actually wasn't a completion, but that's water under the bridge. That should give you a clue right there of what Kansas City is going to be up against. If it's like 4th and 2 or 4th and 3, and they're within scoring range, and I say scoring range for both teams are inside the opponent's 50-yard line, they're going to go.
Well, conversely with that, the other thing I would put out there too is, okay, so he's lived a charmed life so far in the playoffs. What happens if he rolls the dice like he did against San Fran, but the correct call is made and he doesn't convert it? He gives Mahomes a short field, and the next thing you know, Philadelphia is behind 1 or 2 scores, and Hurts has to open it up. That's why I'm not going to give my lock pick of the game until the Super Bowl show on Sunday afternoon, but I'm starting to lean towards give me the Chiefs and the points, because I have more faith in Mahomes being able to come from behind than I do Hurts and company. Not that they don't have. Do you also believe that possibly Hurts' shoulder isn't 100%? Like it's.
Yeah, well, his shoulder is not going to be 100% until the offseason, because if his shoulder was fully 100%, they would have thrown the ball 35 times against San Francisco, at least.
And so you wonder, now he's had 2 more weeks, and I get that. Of course, Mahomes has to with the ankle. It would concern me if I'm an Eagles fan, if they got behind early. What will they continue to run? Will they continue to stick with their game plan, or new guy in the Super Bowl? Does he get out of character? Because you're not going to throw anything at Andy Reid that he hasn't seen before. And I still think
you're right about that. You're right about that. What hasn't Andy Reid seen, especially when it comes to the Super Bowl? What's he going to see this time that hasn't been thrown at him, or that Nick Sirianni hasn't thrown at an opponent?
I've got a prediction on something that I think Andy Reid's going to do. You ready for this?
Hit me.
I think he's going to throw a Philly special at Philadelphia in the Super Bowl.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if half of this book is full of gadget plays that he saved especially for the Super Bowl. But there will be at least 3 trick plays tried in this game. At least 3.
Oh, yeah. I think Kansas City probably has 2 of them, but I do think Philly's going to have something, bag of that. I don't think Sirianni will do a Philly special, because I don't think he wants to be in the shadow of Peterson. Plus, if it were to fail, then the Philly fans would kill him. But I do think there's going to be something involved there. There's going to be flea flicker, something, some kind of end around. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Devontae Smith thrown some passes. I know he did back in Alabama, but I think he's done it in Philly as well.
He's thrown a couple of passes in Philly. There could be a throwback, a flea flicker, like you mentioned, but there's going to be some gadget plays in this game, and the gadget plays could either open or close the scoring in this game.
Yeah, now exactly. Like everyone always thinks of the gadget plays. Oh man, that's going to be a huge play for it. It could also be a turnover. It could be a disaster, right? You could have a running back that just freaks out and wants to throw the ball because it's the Super Bowl and just throws a balloon up into triple coverage.
Man, I've seen so many crazy ways to win and lose the Super Bowl over the years, and I've seen it happen with trick plays, i.e. Tom Brady's Super Bowl 52 and the Patriots, them not being able to execute their trick play, and Philadelphia was. Of course, that's the famous Philly. A trick play can win or lose you the game. And it's like you said, some end arounds or maybe a fake punt in this game, but the gadget plays are on both sides of the ball. It's just going to be a question of who has the nerve to pull the first one out.
And usually what happens is there's a race to the first trick play, right? Because you feel like if you're the one that pulls off the first trick play, your counterpart's less likely to do it, which I don't know why that is, but that's always been the mojo of coaching is that if you pull off the trick play early, the coach from across the sidelines may not run his. I don't know why that is, but it does tend to be true.
Yeah. You know a coach that I admired that didn't have any problem pulling out trick plays in the Super Bowl because he ran a couple of them? Bill Parcells.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about him is he was on so I'm a big Florida State fan, and Bowden's career and whatnot. Bowden and Parcells were on the same coaching staff at Florida State years ago as assistants, and they stayed good friends over the years. And it wouldn't have surprised me if he might have had some conversation with him about that kind of stuff. Because what's funny, when Bowden first took over the program, he was constantly running trick plays. And then when they became a powerhouse, he was asked later down the road, you don't run the end arounds anymore and all the different trick plays. He goes, that's because I've got the athletes where I don't have to do it anymore. I used to have to do it to move the ball. Now I don't have to do it. I can remember the first 10 years of his entire career there. An end around was not really considered a trick play because they did it so much. There was constantly a reverse. The only way it was a trick play is if he didn't hand the ball off, if he kept it and kept running, right? But as far as the NFL, you see him play a little more close to the vest. But Parcells was, people don't think about it, but Bill Belichick has never been scared to. I'll tell you someone who was a boring coach overall, but ran a ton of trick plays was Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher of the Titans. He was constantly, and you don't think of him. You always think of him as a button-down, boring defense, running the ball, et cetera, et cetera. But if you blinked, Jeff Fisher would do a fake punt in a heartbeat.
Another coach who was considered boring, but also would run a trick play in a heartbeat, George Seifert.
Yes. Very, very underrated coach in the history of the NFL, I believe.
Seifert was the first coach to ever win 14 in his first season. That, of course, was 1989, and took the 49ers all the way to the Super Bowl and won it, January 1990. So, as you said, very underrated coach.
That was the blowout versus Denver, right?
55-10.
Yeah. That was one of the worst Super Bowls ever. I remember everyone being excited. Elway, Montana. You know what? So many kids who hear about how Elway's greatness is, they have no idea. For the first 75% of his career, everyone looked to him as a choke artist. And then he got
the Super Bowl against Frisco I told this story on my show, and I'll tell it here. My cousin asked me, does Denver even have a chance? And before he could complete his question, I said, no, there's no way he's going to win. There's no way Denver's going to win the Super Bowl. And he says, you think it's going to be that bad? I said, yes. And 49ers are my team. And he says, how can you be so sure that Elway doesn't have a victory inside of him? I said, well, look at him. Right after that blowout, I get a package that my cousin George sent me, and I turn it over, and I see the note, 55-10. Are you kidding me? And so I called him later that day, and the only question I asked was, did you look at him?
Yeah, the first several Super Bowls, first few Super Bowls he was in, they weren't competitive because he was blown out by the Giants as well. The Giants didn't blow anybody out. The Giants would just bludgeon you to death and prevent you from crossing the 50. But they normally did. I want to say they hung 37 on him that day.
39 to 20, Super Bowl 21.
39. Okay.
And it's like you said, they would bludgeon you to death because they'd hold on to the ball for 40 minutes.
Right. But that's one thing that's always lost when people talk about the greatness of Elway. Is like, man, what I remember of Elway is the beginning of his career, the majority of his career. He was a laughing stock as far as not a laughing stock. Everyone knew he was going to the Hall of Fame, but they would always go, but he can't win the big one. I mean,
he would always beat Cleveland to get to the Super Bowl, beat them 3 times, 86, 87, 89.
Right.
But when he got to the Super Bowl, he got blown to smithereens.
It's funny, as we're talking about that, Doug Williams is on the screen. I believe it's NFL Network. I don't know. They have so many screens going. But that's another one where they got smoked. Was that 35-10? And they gave up, it was 42-10.
Redskins gave up 10 points in the first quarter on the first 2 possessions.
Right.
And then the second quarter happened.
Right.
And that was that.
Right. Williams and company put 35 on him in the second quarter. I was a kid. I was like, you've never seen anything like that. And we really haven't seen anything like that since. 35 points in one quarter of the Super Bowl. And to top it off, it's like you said, they started out, they were up 10-0. And everyone thought that was the one where everyone's like, they're going to get it together. This is it. I'm trying to remember what they called the wide receiver crew.
The posse. Gary Clark, Art Monk, and Ricky Sanders. They were the posse.
No. I'm talking about the Broncos.
Oh, that's John Elway's sons. Steve Watson, Vance Johnson. Who else do they have? Ricky Nattiel out of Florida.
Ricky Nattiel from Florida. They were trying to build them because the Redskins, famously, the offensive line was the Hogs, the receiving crew was the Fun Bunch, and they were trying to build them, and they fell flat. I mean, absolutely flat.
Well, they got bludgeoned in the second quarter. They got absolutely bludgeoned, and plus, the Redskins at the time didn't run three wide receivers. They ran 2 tight ends.
Right.
Clint Didier and Clint Didier was one. Don Warren was the other, out of San Diego State.
And also in that whole game right there, the one thing that I always think of is the guy that you really never heard of before or since, Timmy Smith, right? So it's like out of nowhere.
Only running back in Super Bowl history with a 200-yard game.
Right. He's just unbelievable. And like he never did anything after that. By then I was already playing fantasy football, and I can remember him going early in fantasy football drafts the next year. And I'm like, are y'all nuts? Like, this guy had 1 game. And everyone's like fighting to get him for him. I'm like, all right, man, you go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and take Roger Craig or, one of these other guys that I know is going to put up the number.
Why isn't Roger Craig in the Hall of Fame?
considering how low the bar is for the NFL, it really is absurd. There was a time.
If you can celebrate Christian McCaffrey having a 1,000 season, if you can celebrate Marshall Faulk having a 1,000 season, and they elected him to the Hall of Fame, what about the guy who originated the 1,000 season, Roger Craig?
That one dumbfounds me because the NFL Hall of Fame, it's not quite as easy to get in as the basketball. But the NFL Hall of Fame has a much lower bar than what MLB does. And for him not to be in is a little strange.
It's a travesty to me. And speaking of travesty,
well, especially
I'm
in
going
the that he played. Because in the era that he played, you didn't have that.
You sure didn't.
You didn't have running backs that could catch out of the backfield, period, but you dang sure didn't have one that could do it and also run between the tackles. What I always think of him is the high legs through the hole. But it is absurd, and I'm surprised that he hasn't been put in on some kind of senior committee.
Well, they had him on the senior ballot a few times, and they voted him off. They didn't vote him in. I thought for sure with the senior committee they'd get him in.
Yeah, that's one right there that escapes me because there's at least one guy every single year that gets in the NFL Hall of Fame that you roll your eyes and go, all right, well, whatever, man. It's the NFL Hall of Fame. It's really not that big a deal. The basketball one, I don't even pay attention to anymore. I'm more shocked when I find out someone isn't in the Hall because they're all in the Hall of Fame. If you can dribble the ball in your driveway, you end up on the ballot. So it's just the Basketball Hall of Fame to me is a joke. And of course, they always come back with, well, this isn't the NBA Hall of Fame. This is the basketball. So it's
the pro basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
but the problem with the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame, A, it's mostly NBA players, and B, some of the players that get in, or what a lot of today's fans think should get in,
right,
is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a very low bar. They're starting to lower the bar big time for the College Football Hall of Fame. The past few years, I've been a little disappointed when I've seen guys come in. I'm like, man, it's not that they don't even belong in their own college Hall of Fame, right? It's the fact that if we're going to have your Hall of Fame for the entire sport, the bar's got to be higher. It just does. And I know it probably shouldn't matter, but it matters to me. And it's probably because I'm a huge baseball fan, first and foremost. And it irritated me when they put Harold Baines in. He did not belong in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Very, Very Good, and he should be in the White Sox Hall of Fame. That doesn't mean that he belongs in the same breath. You can't put Harold Baines in the same breath as Willie Mays, Hank Aaron. I mean, come on. And this year, I'm sorry.
Scott Rowland, good Lord.
Not belong in the Hall of Fame. If you look at his numbers, he's in the Hall of Very, Very Good.
Part of that, I think, is the Cardinal bias because he did spend some time in St. Louis.
Yeah, it's that, and it's also because these analytical geeks want to break out all these defensive metrics and whatnot. And I still say, hey, if you're going to do that, then why, in God's name, is Omar Vizquel not in the MLB Hall? He's the best defensive.
Why is Omar Vizquel not in, and why didn't he get in over Scott Rowland? I trust Omar Vizquel to make.
It's because they do the same thing. They pick and choose what they want to pay attention to. So they want to pay attention to defense with Vizquel. Rowland. But then when they go to Vizquel, they say, well, he wasn't very good. Okay, but he also played in an era where the numbers were inflated because of steroids. And he wasn't on the steroids. But yet right before him, it's okay to put Ozzie Smith, who was a light-hitting shortstop in, who was in there for his glove. And I think he does belong there because he's one of the best to ever do it. But you can't, it's the inconsistency is maddening. Who is going to win the Super Bowl? What's your score, Brian?
Eagles 35, Chiefs 31. It'll take a defensive stop to decide it.
Oh, wow. Well, if that is true, then I hit one of my teasers, so I'll be okay with that. I'll break even. What is your walk-off for the day, sir?
My walk-off is this. You're looking at a guy who faced pancreatic cancer and kicked it in the ass.
That is great to hear, sir. And you'll be able to catch Brian once he gets back from vacation. He'll be with us Wednesdays, 3:15 Eastern, and I will be this coming Wednesday. I'll be on a show at 6:15 Eastern. I'll give everyone the details on that. But going forward, he'll be with us on Wednesdays, and I'll be with him on Mondays. And that's assuming that we don't have something else stupid coming up.
That is right. And thank you for this. Thank you for this standing engagement. I truly appreciate it. If y'all get a chance, subscribe to my channel on YouTube, youtube.com/@Snowman Multimedia, and check out snowmanmultimediasports.com, where you can hear and see all of my programs, all of my programs, because I had a couple of them that I'm working on. So I appreciate your listeners in the region, across the nation, around the world, especially via syndication, tuning in. You do a great job with Braves Country. I appreciate you and the guys for giving me this chance. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and we're looking forward to the partnership. We do have it on the screen for people who are watching Braves Country HD. You can go into the comments and copy and paste and go follow Brian. Brian, until Wednesday, man, have a great weekend. And my walk-off is we'll see you, everybody, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday, Super Bowl kickoff show. And remember, Monday show, no football. We're talking nothing but baseball. Have a great weekend, y'all. It's Friday. Let's go.
It's Friday, working stiffs. Everybody.
4, 3, 2, 1. Happy weekend!
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@BravesCountry. Braves Country comes your way weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th. Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia. The NFL playoffs are back, and that means the Armchair Quarterbacks kickoff show is back. Join Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks Conference Championship Sunday and Super Bowl Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern, to get you ready for the biggest games of the year. The Armchair Quarterbacks will be talking the spreads, prop bets, over-unders, stupid underdogs, and the locks. That's the Armchair Quarterbacks kickoff show, streaming right here on Braves Country HD and our radio affiliates.